Labor Minister reveals alarming statistics.
RDA forges ahead with recovery efforts despite COVID-19. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.
Welcome everybody, it's Monday, May 4th, 2020. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes. Welcome everyone. It's Monday. Hope everyone had a beautiful weekend, but we're back again with so much content for you this week.
Yes.
But also what's happening this week, Ron, is our students and teachers are actually starting their Trinity term
Indeed.
Virtually. So students and teachers are at home working from online, and I think this is quite some exciting stuff. So we definitely want to wish them happy virtual Trinity term. Ron, a lot has been happening. As exciting as this is, of course, this is new territory, and we've been seeing on social media some reports of just a bit of hiccups and glitches. So we're definitely wishing them the best, and hopefully this can be rectified soon.
Definitely, Kyla, as usual, this is something new that both teachers and students as well as parents are facing. So we want to make sure that we wish them the very best and just rally around our education system as we embark on a very new journey.
I do agree, and Ron, how I look at it, parents are now teachers, assistants, and homeschoolers. So I definitely think that parents should look at it from that vantage point, just helping teachers and their kids and students to just navigate through these new waters.
No problem at all. And beginning our newscast today, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health and Social Development, the Honorable Carvin Malone, is commending compliance teams and the Social Distancing Task Force for inspecting and certifying hundreds of private businesses, establishments, and the public service. The inspections are being conducted under the leadership of the Chief Environmental Health Officer, Mr. Lionel Michael, as part of the phased reopening and rebooting of the British Virgin Islands economy after the 24-hour curfew that was imposed to control, suppress, and prevent the spread of the COVID-19 and for the protection of all Virgin Islands in the territory. Honorable Malone said in the statement, and I quote, "As these businesses step up to the plate and put the necessary resources in place to operate safely, I once again appeal to the wider community to take personal responsibility for complying with these measures." Honorable Malone highlighted that the more we adapt to the realities of the new COVID-19 environment, the better the chances of restoring the social and economic fabric of the society that we will help to be successful in the long term. Businesses listed in the Curfew Act 2017 imposition of curfew number 14, Order 2020 that have not been inspected by the Environmental Health Division and the Social Distancing Task Force are to remain closed to the public until they are given the approval to open. All other businesses not listed in the imposition of the Curfew Act number 14, Order 2020 are to remain closed. During a recently held press conference and contract signing, Minister Malone also stressed the importance of safety as businesses reopen. He said, and I quote, "It would be remiss of me if I do not spread the good news as it speaks to the good work that has been done. But it is important for us to continue to adhere to the safety protocols that the government has been working hard in determining." Additionally, he also highlighted the importance of implementing the new safety protocols under the revised Recovery to Development plan with haste, stating, and I quote, "We have to make sure that we put people back to work so that families can be supported and projects can be completed so we can open up the economy on a wider scale. We can safely reintegrate people into society. Safety is the key factor involved here as we are seeking accommodations so that when persons return, they can be quarantined in a manner that would not retard all works that we have done. Kyla, a very important story here. We see where the Honorable Minister of Health and Deputy Premier, who has been, I must commend him, an instrumental force as it pertains to the direction and revitalization of the not only the healthcare system, but the economy. The Honorable Carvin Malone has stood with the Premier and the government of the Virgin Islands in making sure that all stakeholders are informed. And here we see him issuing very commendable statements to encourage Virgin Islanders to continue the good work that we've all been doing as it pertains to the reintegration and reopening of the phased approach.
Most definitely, Ron. I think we cannot disregard the work that these compliance teams and the task force has been doing to basically get the economy back up and running again. We see businesses opening up today as they underwent inspection.
Yes.
And these are a group of people that are out there and making sure that businesses are opened, but also that they are safe and are practicing safety mechanisms to protect the public just in general. So we definitely want to commend them, and we don't want their efforts to go without recognition.
One of the things, Carla, that I want to add before we go any further is oftentimes as it pertains to crisis when it comes to our society and us measuring progress, is we're often so keen on, talking about the fact that we can't do this or we can't do that. Let's just take a moment to agree that we've made a lot of progress in the Virgin Islands as it pertains to COVID-19 and the management of COVID-19, not only with persons being safe, but with businesses being reopened. We have to look back at the month of being on lockdown, 24-hour lockdown, and just realize that we've come an extremely long way.
Definitely, Ron. I think we need to take a minute to just step back and realize that BVI people and BVI residents are truly resilient. We have seen a bounce back when it came to hurricanes Irma and Maria, and because we're living in it, we're not really necessarily realizing just the actions and how fast we are able to adapt and deal with certain situations. But here again, we see in the most unprecedented times, BVI just stepping up and doing what is needed. And here we see just basically trying our best to just come out of the woods as best as possible when it comes to this global pandemic. So definitely a round of applause just to the entire BVI. So Ron, as we move on, just yesterday in a live press conference, Minister for Natural Resources, Labor and Immigration, Honorable Vincent Wheatley, revealed some alarming statistics in relation to the workforce in the BVI. According to the minister responsible for labor, to date, approximately 77 businesses have contacted the Department of Labor and Workforce Development. Approximately 33 of these companies have reported closure. Approximately 683 persons have been reported laid off. Approximately 72 persons have been terminated throughout the territory. Some persons have received pay cuts and reduced hours. Now, Ron, these numbers are astonishing. Of course, with our economy taking such a hit, we expected some downfall, but these numbers definitely confirm our assumptions. 683 persons being laid off is definitely an alarming number. Now, Honorable Wheatley appeals to businesses to submit their information regarding their workforce to the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, so the government, of course, can properly and accurately assess the local workforce and economic situation. The minister went on to explain, just like the rest of the world, our tourism industry has taken a significant hit during this global pandemic. He said, with the tourism industry being one of our most important economic pillars, which account for a large cross-section of workers in the territory, any loss in the industry is not only difficult for that sector, but for the economy in general. And Ron, he is definitely right.
I agree.
With all of this being said now, Ron, the government has not yet revealed their plans for any economic stimulus. This is a phrase that's been thrown out here and there all all around the world, but especially in the BVI, as the people await some word as it relates to economic stimulation. Honorable Whitley said the Premier and Minister of Finance has already announced that the Cabinet has approved the template of the economic stimulus plan. The details of this stimulus plan will be made public very soon by the Premier, end of quote. Now, Ron, for some time, this is all that's been said, and this is something that the people of the BVI have been hearing for quite some time now.
Kyla, I agree, and I don't think that the Honorable Minister for Natural Resources and Labor, his press conference and his remarks could have come at a more timely position. I do appreciate the fact that he was able to greet the people of the Virgin Islands and give us these statistics. Right. For many persons across the region, they may say, guys, those are small numbers, but you have to understand when you look at our population, exactly. They are alarming numbers as it pertains to the unemployment and the eligibility for persons to not only be able to reintegrate back into the workforce, but have any sort of a backup plan. And that's where the stimulus package, particularly as it pertains to the tourism hit jobs, comes into fruition. Now, we're going to get into a story later as it pertains to one of our fellow Caribbean regions outlining a very unprecedented amount. But I do think that while we are awaiting a stimulus plan, I do think that because of our population, we do have to be realistic. So I want the people of the Virgin Islands to have a holistic and more relatable and understanding view as it pertains to the figures and perhaps it being laid out in phases. But I do think it's something that we have to look at specifically as it pertains to the population.
Most definitely, Ron. But as you said, later down in the newscast, we'll speak a little bit more about the BVI compared to another jurisdiction in the Caribbean. So viewers, we'll be right back. So still ahead, we have newly established BVIOC Athletes Commission to host online workshops. So stick with us and we'll be right back.
Eco? 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 Everyone is speaking about eco-friendly products. We wanted to take the time to introduce the Eco Island brand. Eco Island is a brand dedicated to providing you with a reliable and cost-effective solution. Eco-friendly products for your restaurant, hotel, bar, office, and home. With takeaway trays, bags, cups, paper straws, cutlery, and cleaners. For more information, follow us at Eco Island 100.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. The BVI Olympic Committee has established an athletics commission which will represent the athletics and teams of the Virgin Islands who compete in major international games and competition. The BVIOCAC is part of the worldwide network of athletes commission which communicates regularly with the International Olympic Committee, IOC, Athletes Commission, created to serve as a link between the athletes and the IOC and to support and protect clean sports. The Commission's mission is to represent all sports with the national federation affiliated with the BVIOC and to recognize the voice of BVI athletes and maximize support of athletes through Olympic solidarity and other programs to increase participation and improve performance at the CAC Games, Commonwealth Games, Pan Am Games, and Olympic Games. Chairperson of the Commission, Ms. Ashley Kelly, said in a statement, and I quote, "We want to be a resource for all of the national federations and their athletes as they prepare to compete at regional, continental, and international events. The Virgin Islands Athletes Commission will represent the interests of the national athletes and teams whose feedback on their experiences at major competitions will help shape the decisions of governing bodies, be it the BVI Olympic Committee, national federations, international federations, or the International Olympic Committee." The members of the BVIOCAC are required to be athletes who have competed at major international competitions. The current members appointed by the BVIOC and who will sit for a 4-year term are Ms. Ashley Kelly, Athletics Chairperson, Joe Chapman, Squash Secretary, Shamora Penn, Softball Public Relations Officer, Ms. Chantal Malone, Athletics, Athlete Initiatives, Kyron McMaster, Athletics, Athlete Initiatives, and Eldred Henley, Athletics, Athlete Initiatives. The Commission will be represented by the BVIOC's Board of Executives. Now, the objective of the Commission Commission are to be accessible to all national federation athletes competing at regional and international levels, whether as an individual or as a team, and to consider issues related to the athletes so that they are provided with advice to the BVIOC. The Commission will also actively engage athletes with initiatives and projects that protect and support clean athletes on and off the play. The Commission's first initiative is a workshop on sports psychology and the mental approach to on-field success, which will take place at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. The free 60 to 9 minutes virtual Zoom meeting will feature Dr. Margaret Otley, a Trinidadian native who is one of the most sought-after sports performances psychologists. Dr. Otley worked at 4 Olympics, 1 with USA Track and Field, 2 with Trinidad, where Team Trinidad won its most Olympic medals to date, and Rio, where she worked with individual athletes, including Kesharon Walcott of Trinidad and Tobago, their only medalist in Rio. The discussion will be moderated by our very own Kyron McMaster, the VI's Commonwealth gold medalist and IAAF Diamond League champion in the 400-meter hurdle. Some topics in the discussion include visualization, goal setting, building confidence, self-talk techniques, and overcoming mental block, with additional material provided for athletes to apply training and competition. The workshop is designed to be interactive and provide practical tools to manage the mental aspect of performance. It will help athletes learn useful techniques to prepare mentality for training and competition. The workshop is open to all athletes, parents, and coaches who can register by emailing Athletes Commission, that's athletescommission@bviolympic.org. Again, that email address is athletescommission@bviolympic.org. Kyla, I am so proud, absolutely so proud of what we call here at 284 Media our Fantastic Four. It's now Fantastic 5 or 6. The number is adding. But here we see young millennial professionals from the Virgin Islands like Miss Chantal Malone, Miss Ashley Kelly, Kyron McMaster, who have excelled and continue to do great things on the athletic scene and represent us very proudly, now come back and make sure that our athletes are well informed, well prepared, even though we are on this a different approach. They are inside, they may not be able to practice as they would like, but we see them making a concerted effort to make sure that our athletes are well informed and protected, and I could not commend them more.
I do agree, and what I realized with this story is that, as you said, there is the Fantastic Four that comes from athletics,
Yes.
but also here we see other sports being represented. We have Miss Shamora Penn from softball, and then we have a representative from squash. So we see sports across the board just being represented in the BVI. And as you said, just to keep up-and-coming athletes informed. So this is definitely a great initiative, and I definitely love to see it. So as we move on, the Recovery and Development Agency and the government of the Virgin Islands is full speed ahead as it relates to recovery efforts and the development of the BVI. So now, Friday morning, May 1st, the RDA and the government of the Virgin Islands signed contracts to commence the rebuilding of 2 properties. Those 2 properties are the Flax Administration Building and the Brigado Flax Educational Center, both located in Virgin Gorda. The repairs works are to commence soon on the 3rd phase of the Brigado Flax Education Center on Virgin Gorda, as the government and the RDA signed a contract with local contractor company Quality in Constructions. Now, here we see the owner of Quality Construction signing. And Ron, this is just definitely awesome to me. The contract was signed for $1.7 million to completely rebuild blocks 2 and 4 of the center. The project will also include internal refurbishments and replacements of the roof for blocks 2 and 4, providing 11 classrooms, a science laboratory, an IT laboratory, an art room, library, and staff and bathroom facilities. Also going ahead, a contract to begin reconstruction of the Flax Administration Building on Virgin Gorda was signed also on May 1st between the government, the RDA, and a local construction company, Metro Construction. The $1.2 million contract will include the rebuilding of a 2-story facility, including the rebuilding of the roof, building, internal refurbishments, and its refitting. Once the Flax building is completed, the facility will be able to provide healthy, safe, and productive facilities for several public servants to provide public services, including but not limited to BVI Post, Social Security, Inland Revenue, Labor, Immigration, Water and Sewage, Environmental Health, Magistrates Department, and the Department of Motor Vehicles. Also in that building, we will see the Civil Registry and the Passport Office and the District Office, all on Virgin Gorda, Ron. So now, Ron, as I witnessed these contracts being signed, it was definitely a sight to see, simply because it gave me hope to see the RDA moving forward with their mandate to help rebuild the territory, even in the midst of COVID-19. And that's what they continually said in the press conference, because even now you would think that the pandemic would halt them, but they have a mandate more so even now to see this true, because just to keep the BVI economy going, because of course the signing of these contracts do also help the economy. So I'm definitely happy to see this moving full speed ahead. I'm definitely loving it.
Carla, I could not agree with you more. It was definitely a pleasant sight to see as young Virgin Islanders and entrepreneurs, especially from the sister island of Virgin Gorda, be able to benefit from contracts in such an unprecedented, such an uncomfortable and unknowing time. And I think that at the end of the day, if we are able to forge ahead with these projects, it assures us and the residents that at the end of the day, this too shall pass. So it's not a case where all is lost and we're just going to throw up our hands, but we're going to continue to fight as a people and a country to make sure that the necessary measures are put in place to make sure that all of our people here in the Virgin Islands are taken care of. And that by the contract signing is a great example of the continuation of progress.
Most definitely. And here we see 2 projects being started in just a span of a month. And of course, during the press conference, they continually stressed safety precautions, because although these projects will be starting, construction sites and construction workers and contractors are to abide by the same rules being stated all across the board, to just practice social distancing and safe hygiene all through it. So this is definitely a win for Virgin Gorda. Here we see Honorable Vincent Wheatley just working full speed ahead, and the CEO, the acting CEO of RDA, that is, he basically said he challenged all the other district owners, district representatives and ministers to keep pressing on, because definitely Honorable Wheatley is definitely on them to get the job done over in Virgin Gorda. So I'm definitely happy to see that.
Carla, I'm sure the Honorable Vincent Wheatley and the Honorable Shireen Flax Charles must be bursting with pride and joy as they see their fellow Virgin Gordians succeed in this manner. I know they are definitely proud.
Definitely. So viewers, still ahead, Barbados unveils, get this, $1 billion in a stimulus package, the region's highest to date. So catch more of this when 284 News returns.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Out of the VI Consortium, Bridgetown, Barbados on Wednesday announced an unprecedented $1 billion U.S. stimulus package, as well as lifting some restrictions as the island gears for a new lifestyle amidst the coronavirus pandemic. In a 90-minute radio and television broadcast on Wednesday night, Prime Minister Mia Mottley stated that two-year-old economic plan was designed to provide incentives and stimulate the economy that has been hit by the pandemic, for which there is no cure or vaccine to date. She said, and I quote, "This is the biggest package of spending initiatives ever rolled out over a two-year period on a supplemental basis for what we would otherwise have as our core activities," noting that the stimulus package would allow businesses to keep staff on their payroll and was also designed to fill in holes in spending in the economy. Motley said that the plan would also focus on a public and private capital works program, increasing the island's self-sufficient, the creation of Barbados Tourism Fund. In addition, 110 million Barbados dollars would be spent on families affected by the shutdown. She said the economy prior to the pandemic was sticking to the course, providing us with the reserves, provided with the room, providing us with the credit and enough standing now regionally and internationally for us to launch this most comprehensive integrated program that the country has ever seen, largely because we have never had this kind of crisis facing us. She continued by saying we've focused the program on supporting those who have lost their jobs in the shutdown and to keep those as far as possible who have jobs into their jobs. The economic plan has 5 parts, and the effect of them is to fill the hole in spending in this economy to the tune near in $2 billion Barbados dollars over 2 years. She said she hoped the private sector would be inclined to keep staff on board, saying, and I quote, "This is largely new and which I will announce tonight in a series of measures that will inject another $215 billion Barbados dollars one way and another 200 million Barbados dollars fund being mobilized to the conditions that we hold on to as much staff and jobs as possible." Motley said the private sector was also expected to contribute some $800 million Barbados dollars investments due to the start of 6 major projects in the next 2 years, noting that among those projects are the 400 million Sam's Lord Castle project, the Crane and project, and improvements to the Apes Hill Golf Course. She added that 600 million expansion of the Sandals at Dover and the $200 million Sakior Retirement Villages project, as well as the Hyatt Zero to begin shortly. Now, these are all major capital projects that are going to be undertaken in Barbados within the next few years. But Motley acknowledged that the COVID-19 pandemic would result in the government not only being able to collect an estimated $400 million in tax revenue. She said, and I quote, "We estimate that over the next 12 months, and we have had to revise upwards numbers that we spoke about here 3 or 4 weeks ago in Parliament, that we will now lose in the vicinity of $450 million in government's tax revenues as a result of the economy being fully, partially shut, or only now slowly opening." She said, and I quote, "This will be less income tax collected, less corporation tax, less value-added tax, also known as VAT, less excess tax, less duties, less fuel and air transportation levies." And she also added, "We have spent or committed over $75 million in health-related expenditures over the course of the last few weeks on different terms." Motley said that $40 million had been spent on isolation and quarantine treatment centers and buying much-needed equipment for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and polyclinics around the island. She said the difference in public revenues and expenditures could worsen by a cumulative $700 million, and gave the assurance that foreign reserves were enough to see the island through the crisis. She said, and I quote, "Just before COVID-19 struck, our reserves had reached 1.55 billion, the highest level at the time recorded on a like-for-like basis for a while. Today, as a result of the low-interest borrowing from our partner, the Inter-American Development Bank, our reserves today, as I speak to you, are just over $1.7 billion. It is more than enough reserve to cover," Motley said, announcing also that a mission from the International Monetary Fund was here examining the progress of the local economy. Now, meanwhile, the Barbados government has announced a relaxation of the 24-hour stay-at-home order, with Motley indicating that 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew would instead be imposed. But she warned as the government is moving to relax measures put in place to prevent the spread of the virus. Complacency and compliancy, must be adhered to. Barbados has recorded its 7th death from the virus, in addition to 73 positive cases over the past 5 weeks. Kyla, a really, really great example. And one of the things that I want to pay attention to in this particular story is not the fact that Barbados is unveiling a $1 billion stimulus package, which is the highest across the region. But what I want us to pay attention to is the fact that we always hear save for a rainy day, save for a rainy day, save for a rainy day. And I think this country's perspective, their planning, and their proper evaluation of how they're going to go about their business is a really good example of how perhaps other territories should consider doing business. What we see simply happening in Barbados is that they planned. They did not know that COVID-19 was going to happen, but they planned and they prepared, and now they have an excess amount of money to be able to spend on the stimulus package. And it's truly amazing that the Honorable Premier Mia Mottley has been able to unleash this and unveil this to the people of Barbados.
As you said, I agree. Here we see just saving for a rainy day could really and truly bring you at the end of the day, Ron. As you said, some persons might say it's unprecedented. $1 billion is definitely a lot of money, the highest we've seen thus far. But saving for a rainy day definitely have helped cushion Barbados in this time.
Definitely,
Most
I agree.
definitely.
And again, it's unprecedented. It's a large amount, and some countries across the region might be saying, hey, I wish we could do that, or, you know, how come we can't have the amount? But you have to look at their succession planning, and you have to look at their hierarchy and organizational skills in making sure that the territory was at a particular point prior to COVID-19. Again, none of us had any idea that this would happen.
Most definitely.
Kyla, before we go, I want to touch base on a really fun and interesting story. We talked about it earlier. The Virgin Islands Carnival Committee. They did something pretty remarkable this weekend. Obviously, you know, and Jovan know that had it not been for COVID-19, I would have been with my family coming on the road, just, you know, bouncing to the beat of local soca music.
I know our viewers cannot see it, but Ron, he is a fetter here and there, so yeah.
But the VI Carnival Committee, they held virtual sessions in Juve this weekend, and I had an opportunity, once I got up, I had an opportunity to be able to tune in, and it was absolutely remarkable. It was fun. It was live. The energy was lit. It was just totally cool.
Well, Ron, I did see the ones across this weekend. When I got up at about 9 o'clock, I did see the reruns of that. It's hard enough for me getting on the road Juve morning when it's actually on the road. I'm not sure how and I'm being completely honest, how that works over Zoom, but I'm glad that it worked out, to be honest. I'm really glad, and it's really innovative to see the festival committee, the Carnival Committee, just trying different ways to embrace their culture. They're not resting it down. They're making sure that the people come up the road one way or next.
And one of the things that's really cool about the way they run their carnival is that the Virgin Islands, as you know it, is a melting pot. There are persons from all across the region, from all different Caribbean islands, but they do it so skillfully that they include and promote Virgin Islands culture without making persons from different islands feel as though perhaps they don't belong. So that's something that we can definitely adapt to, and I think it's tremendous.
So do they have any other activities coming up?
Of course, they have an entire calendar of activities. For persons who may not have seen my interview with Mr. Ian Turnbull, the chairman of the Carnival Committee, you can check that out on our Facebook page at 284 Media. They have a long list of virtual activities, of course, a lot of which include replaying some of the previous parades from 2019 and 2017.
Definitely. I love it, Ron. So viewers, that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. It's always a pleasure, viewers. I am Kyla Kinsha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and of course, international content. We're 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news right here on 284 Media. It's the beginning of a wonderful week, guys. Happy Monday.